much. It's Louisiana.
All right, how's everybody doing tonight?
Doing great.
We are this fan's view. Our guests this evening, two former Birds. They're going to give us the breakdown of where everything went wrong.
Did it go wrong?
I don't know. Seems like everybody has that same question, right?
Oh, yeah.
It was definitely the linebackers.
Kevin Riley, Gary Fury. How about a big hand for them? Couple local guys, right? Any Cardinal Harahan fans in the house?
Yeah, we got some.
I told you that was
How about you go further south, down to, how do we pronounce that school?
Louisiana.
Thank you.
Spell it.
I'll give you the yes. Anyway, thanks everybody for coming out. We're going to talk Philly sports. We'll talk anything you want to talk about. I got a funny feeling that Jerry wants us all to stand up and sing the national anthem. That could be a first.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks everybody for coming out. Traditionally, our raffles over here, everybody gets 2 free tickets. You can purchase as many as you'd like. There's some great stuff up here. Probably the second greatest linebacker in Eagles history, beside the guy next to me, Chuck Bednarik. See how I did that? Nice job.
Stretches are in the house.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. Somebody died? They picking up a body?
Oh, gosh, I hope not.
Anyway, raffles, we'll do trivia, questions, the Mattis Minute, we do the normal stuff, but I got 2 great guests up here, and they're bulging at the seams to talk Eagles football. So, who wants to go first?
Experience goes first, Kevin.
So I guess the big question, Carl and John and my man here, is what happened to the Eagles? They're 10-1. And I had to take a look at it. I would say that Sirianni got a little too buddy-buddy with everybody, I think. Instead of being, I was coached for 10 weeks by Don Shula. You didn't mess around with Don Shula or you're on a plane going back home. It's a lot tougher these days, but here Sirianni comes off a very good year. He got a new offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. You don't know what you don't know that first year as a coordinator.
True.
You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what one of your schemes aren't going to work. So here the team goes out 9-0, and you know what? That was probably the biggest mistake they could have made, because if you're not losing games, why would you change anything? So the offense is set, and now it's become predictable. McCaffrey can tell you what they're running from watching it on TV. The defense is the same way. And they lose a couple games they shouldn't have lost. Also, they're coming off the stretch that really put some pressure on them as talented athletes. It was a tough 4 or 5 game set there, so they're a little worn out. And now they have to make adjustments. And Jerry, you know that with 90-minute practices and only 3 of them a week, and maybe 1 more if you count the walkthrough, you can't change a whole defense. You can't change a whole offense. You can't even make major changes. And I think they tried to do that, and they just fell flat.
You're exactly right. The other thing they can't change is the coach. They changed the defensive coordinator. Now you have different personalities. I mean, it takes a long time, to get in sync with somebody. You have to learn, their idiosyncrasies, how they treat you, how they want to be treated, and how they want you to treat each other in that defense. And, to come out, at that point in the season and say, okay, we're changing the coach. All of a sudden, what would you say? It's like, what the F?
Yeah.
It's
Especially a coach that's had some problems with former players.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely,
not
definitely. Yeah, he was not a fan of his to begin with, but there was the problem, just kept on getting bigger and bigger as the wins kept going. They weren't winning, really convincingly, and they kept on, and the fans could see that it wasn't the same team that went to the Super Bowl. It was a much softer team. The defense was softer. And the offense was much more predictable. And if the fans sitting in the stands could see that, and like you said, you could basically look at their offense and say what play it was going to be. And the other thing with their offense that really drove me crazy, and I talked to Jaws about it and Quick about it, they had no hot reads. I mean, the quarterback holds the ball for, forever. They blitz him. What's the first thing, the outside receivers, to the blitz side supposed to do? Break off his pattern and look for the ball. They don't do it. I mean, the quarterback is getting, holding the ball and getting killed.
And they don't go across the middle.
No.
They wait for these long reads outside.
And
Why is that? They don't use the middle. The whole NFL right now is
figure it out.
using the NFL.
I tell you what.
they were doing it to the Eagles.
Oh yeah, everybody was doing it to the Eagles. Yeah.
The thing that happens when they started to bring the 7-man rush, it was your eyes as a quarterback goes off of the receivers because you're looking for who's coming free. Is there somebody coming free? Our guys, and I have to go back and talk to Jerry, I thought it was the worst linebacking I've seen in a long time. They didn't know what they were doing. When they would blitz, they would run into their own guys. There wasn't even a crease where they could get through.
No, they were. I mean, they had to be more effective with their front four, and they weren't. I mean, the year before, everybody was enamored with them because of all the sacks that they had. Last year, they had half the amount of sacks, and they didn't have the linebacking core was banged up, and one game actually I was sitting there watching it, and the poor kid, I don't know what his name is, he was number 57. I think they brought him in out of the stands, and he's out there and he's looking to his left, he's looking to his right, his hands are up in the air, and I think 41 was trying to help him. But the kid had no idea what he was doing. I said, that's a Super Bowl team? No, it's not. I mean, they were horrible, and you can't. I mean, at that level in the pros, you just can't have it. I mean, it's inexcusable.
How does that get to that point? You had.
I don't know because I've never seen. Have you ever seen it at that point that bad?
No, I never saw a team go downhill that quickly. The last two games, I didn't even think their heart was in it.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah.
I started to watch guys that were this guy Leonard.
Shaq Leonard. Yep.
He was just playing for a paycheck.
He checked out.
There would be a pile, and instead of adding to the pile, he just stood away from it. And you bring a guy in the middle of the season, he doesn't even have that many friends. He's just playing for a paycheck.
Right.
You can't expect a lot out of him, even though he was all pro at one time. And then you got guys who don't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we said. Some of the players quoted as saying you have to make an executive or a business decision whether they're going to make a tackle or not based on, them getting, banged up or whatever. But the biggest thing I saw was, they were still in it. They were still had momentum going when they played the 49ers. And you watch that game, and you watch the 49ers defense when our running backs went through the line, their D-backs and their linebackers were attacking the line of scrimmage and making physical plays. The Eagles were not. The Eagles defensive back and their linebackers just didn't make any physical plays. You didn't see anybody stuck at the line of scrimmage or in the backfield unless it was by a defensive lineman. And that you just can't. If you're going to win, you have to have intimidating defense. That.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I guess the big question, and I listened to you guys just briefly right here. You go from 10-1 and you lose, call it momentum. I don't know. There wasn't much momentum going on. You had a couple of bad losses, and where does the coaching come in at? I mean, you've got a couple of leaders. Jeff Stoutland's been around for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, nobody can say, hey, time out, dog on the field. We got to regroup here.
Why? That's one of my biggest quandaries is, and I talk to Stout, maybe once a week, just to see what's going on. But the offensive line is supposed to be the premium offensive line in the league. Well, why don't they run the ball? Why don't they, use that asset?
Sure.
It drives me crazy. I mean, that the fact that they're supposed to be this good, and by the end of the year, they weren't that good. I mean, they were still, better than most, but they weren't playing, at a high proficiency level that they should be, because they weren't even actually being engaged in the game the way that they should be.
And how much is that also affected by, like you were saying, the hot reads? Like you look bad because you're giving up sacks or you're giving up pressures because you're having the ball being thrown down the field so much. But if they would look better if you got the hot read and boom, you get the ball out.
Well, no offensive lineman, wants to get a sack, and when they're protecting their butts off, and then, he's scrambling around and running, all over the place because there was no hot read, because he won't get rid of the ball, and then he takes a sack. I mean, it's, it's part of the game, and you have to suck that up as a lineman. But it's something that it pisses you off, because it shouldn't happen if you do your job and you take a sack for that. So I mean, and that's part of the their offense allowed that to happen. It wasn't just the offensive line. It was the way the design of the offense that allowed that to happen a lot. Like you were saying, the middle. They didn't. Our tight ends in the past, Zach Ertz, all those guys, and they made their living in the middle there. And last year, every pass I saw to Goddard was on the sideline.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing you talk about that, because I'd be watching the game with a couple of my grandkids that know a little bit about football. They play, and then when they go trips right, 2 wide receivers and slot back, and they throw that screen play out there, it must have worked 1 out of 10 times, and they kept going back to it. No speed, no what do they call them? Speed trips, where the guy goes in motion and you throw him the ball. They got the speed.
There was no motion.
No.
I mean, that was the most vanilla offense. I mean, that's the thing. Quick told Merle on radio one time. He told him, let's go over to the high school, and I'll show you a more sophisticated offense than what they're running right now. And I mean, and it was true. They didn't do anything to enable the receivers to get off the line, unscathed. And they also, their run game was they had Swift, all right? They started, the last game they played, he had 12 yards in the first 2 carries, and you didn't touch the ball again until the end of the second quarter. I was like, that's a good offensive, play call there. But but you would think that they would use, some type of motion and, to get him involved, to get him the ball, even if it's speed sweep, stuff like that once in a while, just something different. But no, they would just give him the ball, in the middle, when it was expected. And, see what he could do with it. And it got very frustrating as a fan watching the games. I
It
know
really
that.
did. And I was at the Dallas Cowboy game when they played at home. If Zach Prescott doesn't step on that line with his
Yeah.
little toe, we
Right.
lose that game. They
Exactly.
had won a couple games they probably should have lost. So this thing was starting to break down before
True.
they got a loss. And, the other thing that I think you start to see is when we've heard about this, the locker room, I won't mention his name. Well, I know a guy really well who knows a lot about football that says when they have the players only meeting, it's all over. And I said, why would you say that? He said, because the only thing that happens in the players only meeting is at the end, everybody's pointing fingers. Because it's not their fault. The animosity starts, and then you have guys breaking down. And I think that was part of the situation. These guys were not playing as a team anymore. And when it's 3rd and 2, and Jalen Hurts decides he's going to throw a bomb, AJ Brown.
No, that was
and
crazy.
You need to make the first down, and you've got this good running back in your back of your field. As a matter of fact, you could have probably run the tush push and got a first down, but you're going to go for it, and the coach didn't call for that. You've lost control of the team.
Yeah, and your season was in your hand at that point. And if they won that game, maybe that would have been a momentum changer. But that play was unbelievable that they instead of getting that first down, because they only needed a field goal.
Right.
If you remember, in that instance. And, and so instead of even giving them a chance for that, they turned the ball over. But
Kevin, you mentioned a little bit ago the linebackers not recognizing number 57, 41 trying to help them. They kind of disrespected that position for a long time. Do you see that as an NFL thing? Because I see that around the league a lot nowadays. Where that position is. I mean, try to have this conversation with Brian Urlacher or Bill Berkey. I mean, they're different generations, but they still played that position like as fierce as anyone. But you just don't see that on the field anymore.
No, one of the things is the NFL has changed over the years. You show me a 3-down linebacker today, and he's a super athlete. Because they've got to be able to take on those runs. You've got these monster linemen. Everybody's over 300 pounds. You've got to be 245, 250 if you're doing 300-pound bench presses to hold your own or at least to plug a hole. So you're going to come out of there if the situation is that you're 225 and you're quick on your feet and you cover the guy out of the backfield. Back in the day when Bergie was there, and even when I was there, I was playing. I got to start a few games in New England, and I didn't come out on 3rd downs. And I didn't come out on 1st and 2nd downs. You were 3-down linebacker. These guys are so specialized now. What happens? Cunningham gets hurt. The other starter gets hurt. Now you're looking at the waiver wire. I mean, that's not where you want to be. And if you take a look at what happened when those two guys got hurt, the first 4 games, I think the Eagles were only giving up 85 yards rushing a game. They were leading the league. And we thought that the 4-down linemen were making the difference. Well, they were, but they had 2 good linebackers that were cleaning up. Then as soon as that broke down, 128 yards, 148 yards every game after that.
Well, I think you're right there. But the other thing, I think they disrespected the position because they had Edwards there the year before, and I forget what the other guy's name was, but they were 2 good linebackers, and the money that they signed with elsewhere was not astronomical, and I guess they just felt that they could fill whoever in that position. It can't be done. I mean, you're asking guys to cover a lot of field there, and it's a passing, like you said, it's a passing game. You have to be quick enough to do that, plus stuff to run, and they just didn't have the skill there.
No, and the quality of the tight ends have gotten better in the NFL. They're more athletic, they're faster, they're tall, all of a sudden you're asking linebackers who used to have them man-to-man and could usually do a pretty good job. They can't cover them for long.
No.
They're going to outrun you at some point. That's where you got guys like Kelsey, and even our guy Goddard, that are doing well because a lot of times they've got a linebacker cover them and they can beat that linebacker.
Yeah, I think we've beat this subject up quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's it's been talked about and gone over, and I think the guys that you don't get rid of players, right? So it all falls back on coaching, right? So you start dismantling the coaching, staff, and what's your guys' opinion on the direction that they went there with going from a lot of young coordinators to veteran coordinators?
Well, I'll take the offense. You can take the defense. He's still a young guy, coming from, San Diego, and he's got a lot of experience, as a coordinator with the Cowboys and then with the Chargers. Success. He's been in the playoffs with the Cowboys, and he put up numbers there, but no Super Bowl rings. And again, he is bringing his offense in. Sirianni is now the CEO. If I read that correctly, and he is going to be directing things. Cohen is going to run his offense, and from what I've seen in the past, there's nothing exotic about it. But he spreads the ball out to his wide receivers and tight ends. Dallas had some very successful tight ends down there when he was there. Young guys have really developed for him. So you need to have that, and you also need to have a relationship that Jalen understands where he's coming from, and he understands where Jalen. Hey, what's going on, Keith? Where he's coming from, and whoever the new quarterback coach. I know they hired somebody, but
It was the same guy from Dallas and the Chargers with them last year.
But the same, that threesome, has to be the same as when Frank Reich was there with Doug Peterson and, Wentz and Foles. I mean, that was the combination that made that Super Bowl team. And, it's important to have that same bond, between these guys now.
I think it makes it hard for Jalen, and you would know this better than I, but Jalen's had four offensive coordinators now, and they all have different, systems they want to run, and that's gotta, make you take a back step sometimes and say, what am I doing? What are they? I need to have somebody that can communicate with me and, runs what I'm athletically meant to do. By the way, I really can't believe there hasn't been some rule about Jalen being hurt. He looked like he was hurt to me.
I believe he was too. I mean, I don't know how serious it was, but I think it definitely affected his play. He was lots, he didn't seem as fast as he had been, and but that, they definitely need to be on the same, page as far as the coach has to say. All right, this is my offense, and we are going to do a lot of run pass options, or, we are going to do a lot of, and Jalen, what do you think your strength is? How can we make you a better player? What plays do you like? And, now's the time that they're going to, have to sit down and break all that stuff down. He'll look at, the coach will look at film, to see what plays, Jalen excelled at. Which ones he didn't think he did as well, and go over that stuff with him, and come up with their program. And so it's all in the beginning stages. I mean, again, right now they're not a Super Bowl team. They're formative.
Yeah, how long is that going to take to, like you were saying, with this year having two new offensive coordinators or offensive defensive coordinators that
On
you're
the
doing it
defensive
again?
side, Nick Fangio, I think, is going to be able to come in and at least command the room. And he may send some people south if they can't deal with that, because he's old school, but he's old school in a good way. I think with him being the coordinator now, he can make those defensive changes at halftime, which I did not see happen this year. Okay, I just saw him come out and play plain vanilla. Let's keep rushing 4 men. When are you ever going to send blitzes? You know, can anybody find Jim Johnson's tapes and see what he was doing special?
Let me ask you this,
Yeah.
Kevin. Carter, good rookie, right? Why did
Out of
they?
shape.
Yeah, well, that was Davis. They both were out of
Both
shape.
out of shape.
Yeah, they, why did they not experiment with him on the outside too? I mean, I think he has that Reggie White type of, abilities where he can play inside or out. He wasn't dominating inside, so why not, and they had other tackles in there. Why not switch it out and see if they could, make something happen?
I don't know about that, but I'll tell you one of the things that I think happened is, these guys play 11 games in college.
Right.
They play 11 games in college. They come into the
What's up,
NFL,
Doc?
and the next thing you know, they're playing, a couple of quarters in 2 exhibition games.
Yeah.
Then they got to play 17 games. Then you add a playoff game.
How many times you do this?
Yeah, you saw that a lot. Those
Tap-
guys were not in
tap
good shape
out.
on that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Lauren, what do you got?
Question in the audience.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Get ready, guys.
Okay.
If you're not sitting down, sit down.
It's a two-part question about Jason. Kelsey, sorry. When do you think he's going to announce he's retiring, or do you think he's not going to retire?
I'd love to take this if I could. Okay. Jason, great player, a Hall of Famer. And I was thinking the same thing coming over here, when is he going to announce? Because I went to the Kansas City Chiefs and I was the starting center. And Mike Webster retired from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Marty Schottenheimer brought him on as a coach. When camp started, Mike decided he wanted to be a player again. So, obviously one of us had to go and it wasn't going to be him. But so I'm thinking, what's Kelsey going to do? Is he going to wait until camp? Because they don't have anything difficult. I mean, it's not like, when they're in camp that they're, beating each other up. I mean, his body would probably heal better and he'd probably even have another good year from it. But, I was wondering that myself, whether or not he's making a decision down there in Disney World right now or not. Maybe we'll ask Goofy. I don't know.
Susan, I think that his dilemma is more mental. Do I go out on that note?
Yeah.
That was a bad note to go out on. And do I still have enough left in the tank to do 17, 18 games? Because the guy never comes out.
And will the team, and will be worth coming back?
Right.
Well, they'll take it back.
No, not that. I mean, would it be worth for him to come back
right, yeah.
with the results of the team next year?
Yeah. Well, we're hoping for a better season next year.
Oh, sure. I mean, hope is eternal, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, well, how hard is it to let go? You know what I mean? Like, just in general. Like, I mean, I didn't play at the pro level. Playing softball, you play until you can't play it anymore, type of thing. And I'm sure it's the same thing once it's in your blood.
I mean, we both would still be playing if,
Right.
If there was someone that had us.
Yeah.
True.
That's just your mentality. I mean, to me, to make it to that level, you know, as you can see, not many people do. So, I mean, and that's the level that you can maintain the rest of your life is that, you know, I could still do it. And
Jerry, I think the other thing that people don't understand is the practices they have now are the walkthroughs that we had on Saturdays. And I'm not kidding you. So
no, it's so
we just
soft.
took a lot bigger beatings, you know. And I can tell one funny story about, you know, I was a special teams captain in '74 for the Eagles, so I played on all the special teams, and the one I hated was the kickoff team. We were playing the Dallas Cowboys. It's back and forth game. It's the fifth kickoff. Bobby Picard is the other wedge buster. He and I go up to Dempsey and say, Tom, can you please kick one out of the end zone? The Dallas wedge had Too Tall Jones, Jethro Pugh, Harvey Martin, and little Randy White. Who in the hell would put 3 all-pro guys in the wedge except the Dallas? And so, you know, our job was to take down 2 of those guys. We were the bowling balls. Because as Dick LeBeau, our special teams coach, would say, if everybody takes on a blocker one-on-one, we're left with the running back against our kicker, and that's not where we want to be.
Not a good situation.
So, Bobby Picard and Kevin Riley, you got to at least knock down three or four guys in that wedge. And the only way you could do that was to throw a cross-body block or try to take them on head-on at the knees. And it was like a small automobile accident. I used to check my body to see if I had all my parts getting in. We also had, at that time, when you had if you got hurt and you were laying on the field, it cost your team a timeout. That doesn't happen anymore. These guys lose their earrings and they're laying on the field. And then they come back three plays later. So Dick LeBeau would say to us, and I love playing for that guy. He played 14 years with the Detroit Lions. And he said, you guys cannot count, you cannot lay on the field. You can't, you know, use one of our golden timeouts that's left for the 2-minute drill. He said, I'll wave a flag, just get off the field. So this last time down, I throw a cross-body block and I get dinged. And I get up and I know I'm dinged. I can't feel anything on the right side of my body. I have tunnel vision. I can see out of this eye. I can't see out of this one. But as I started to move towards the sideline, I could see where we were, and I'm going over to the sideline. I can't shake the tunnel vision. And all of a sudden, I hear Bergie coming on, and he's yelling, Ross, Ross. And I go, what? Next thing you know, he's got his hand on my helmet, and he's turning my helmet around. I was looking through my ear hole. My suspension helmet had drifted all the way to the side. Now, Bill thought I had.
How was that view?
Bill thought I broke my neck and I was the only human being alive that was still could run with a broken neck. But those kind of hits that you take game in and game out put years on our plans.
Well, I was with you, buddy. I was the center on the kickoff team. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
I covered in my first couple of years on special teams. I was on the kickoff team too, and I know what you're talking about because I went to the wrong sideline a couple times. You know, it was had to be escorted by referees back to the Eagles sideline. So it was nuts. I mean, yeah, the hits we took. I mean, we pay. You know, the guys before us did, and we did. We paved the way for the game to be the way it is now. Unfortunately, now
it's cash our pension checks at Wawa.
Yeah, yeah. But it's so much. It's to me, it's become tough to watch.
Yeah.
All right, Johnny, our producer's walking around with mystery envelopes.
Yep.
So that's the key.
Hint, hint.
That's the key for trivia time.
You might have to hide a couple of them because we've answered a
When
couple
she,
of our
when she starts walking, pacing, I know it's time, so.
Yep.
For those of you that might be new, it's the first hand up, and I'll bring you the mic to give an answer.
All right.
Rules.
All right. Jerry was selected by which team? Which team was he selected by? Front row here.
He was not drafted. He was picked by the generals of the
That's the answer. It said who was he selected by?
generals of the U.S.
He's got to watch the wording.
Oh, how'd you know that? What's your name, son?
All right.
Yeah, we may have to discount a few people off. I don't know that it's fair, but okay.
Okay, well,
Okay.
to be honest, you have stumped the room, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right,
Come on. now,
dial
folks.
it in, Johnny.
All right. Kevin finished his playing career with which team?
Everybody knows this one.
Patriots?
That is correct.
Where'd that come from?
Mike Schmidt there.
Okay, great.
The Mike Schmidt.
Yeah.
He gained weight.
You don't want to know. He's still firing shots. He still thinks he's centering the football.
All right. Jerry attended which college? Oh, well, yeah. Syracuse is correct.
Anything you're going to stump him on, John?
Well, I had a stumper, but you gave it.
Yeah, I told you this afternoon that wasn't going to work.
Yeah, I know. All right, which round was Kevin drafted in? Brian, you know the rules. You already answered once.
7.
There you go.
All right, we got 3 prizes left, John.
I know. A lot of questions were already
And a
answered.
really temperamental microphone.
Yes.
Really temperamental.
All right. Maybe hopefully people will other than up front here won't see the answers. What is the name of the book that Kevin wrote?
You're not supposed to yell the answer out.
Easter cheating, very cool.
People in the back couldn't see it that close. Oh. I mean,
John, are you out of questions? Is
I
this the problem?
am right. No, I am because you already gave away the Cardinal
Sorry, you
O'Hara.
didn't
All
ask me a
right,
question.
we're going to throw one out there because I'm understanding that the QB for O'Hara is in the house.
No.
Does anyone know his name? Does anyone, not family, not friends?
He's not.
Mike Frost.
Yep. Oh, he got
There
it.
you go.
Yeah.
He's getting an envelope.
There you go. This is the Grammys.
See, look.
Hanrahan.
Thanks for being a participant, Mike.
Carl,
There you go. And we got one more, Lauren.
how many tackles did I make one game? 0.
That's a tough one to laugh at. Come on.
All right, and then who was the running back that Jerry blocked for at the Generals?
Here we go.
Herschel Walker.
That is correct. Come on now. So I want to
All
ask
right,
you.
hold that
Oh,
thought, because Tackling Life is available tonight
Yep.
and tonight only, here at Hanrahan's. It's a book written by Kevin Riley. His life is inside that book, and it's a great read. So, purchase it, he'll autograph it to you. It's a great opportunity to learn about what some of our heroes go through. We think it's, just a game. But through a lot of these stories and life throws you a lot of curveballs. So the book will be available tonight. We got an ATM machine, we got Venmo, we got Cash App, we got PayPal, we got it all. So dig deep, and also
You barter.
we're winding down already, and I want to make sure everybody gets their raffle tickets. You get 2 free ones. You can purchase as many as you like. We'll draw the prizes right around 8 o'clock-ish. Yes, 8 o'clock-ish, we'll draw those. So you must be here to win. So, Kevin, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Just had a question, Jerry, for you. How do you feel about the USFL today versus where you guys are playing? Because when you guys played, it was a pretty star-studded crowd out there. You know, probably 8, 10 Hall of Famers in the Pro Hall of Fame.
Well, technically, I never played in the USFL.
Okay.
I was drafted by, in the USFL, but that was the first year it started. And so I had to either decide to go in the USFL or wait for the NFL draft. And I decided to wait for the draft. And the draft, just came and went, but I, signed with the Eagles. So USFL would have been an opportunity even after that, but my roommate actually played, went and played there, and some other guys, from Syracuse, I knew that played for the Generals, and yeah, I mean, it was a great league. I mean, look at Philadelphia. They were loaded. I mean, the Generals were loaded. I mean, there were, and all those great quarterbacks that, played in the league and then came over, Kelly and Young. And so, yeah, it was star-studded. And, they were, the NFL was very happy to see those guys, come from that league over to the NFL.
Right.
Great players.
You got a question?
So the tush push, should it be legal? Like, should it continue? Is it dangerous? Is it for fun, exciting? Is worth it, or the excitement of it?
You want to take that, or you want me to?
Should the tush push exist?
Well, I think Sirianni got this one right. They practice it, and they don't seem to get anybody hurt the way they practice it. Until it becomes something that is an injurious play, I don't think it should be eliminated. I think it, there's going to be people at 3rd and 2 to start to go for it twice, to get that first down. I think it adds some momentum to the offensive people that are playing. Defensively, I don't think people like it at all because it's so difficult to stop.
Well, the answers make it like it's dangerous.
They don't know what they're talking about.
Their analysis.
Well, I was a center, so I mean, I watched Kelsey, and to be able to get that low as a center, snap the ball, which makes your momentum go backwards first, and then have to go forward to move that guy that's usually 330 pounds, over your head. I mean, he's amazing at what he does at, and he's the one taking the brunt of it every time, because when the pile unfolds, he's on the bottom of it with thousands of pounds on top of him. Now, everything, goes in like that, but, if, being a center, I know from all the knee injuries I had, when you're in a center like that, the center is the one that takes the brunt of it because everything gets thrown at your legs. And so, the defensive guys, they whine because they can't stop it. I mean, I haven't seen anybody on defense get hurt by, this year. I mean, well, I mean, if you ever watch him do it, I mean, he takes the ball and then he feels the pressure of the line move off, and then he slides. I mean, he always seems, and if you ever watch his feet always hit the ground, and they're still moving. It's not like he's just leaning on the pile. If you watch other, quarterbacks do that quarterback sneak or whatever, a lot of times they're just depending on that push from the line, and they don't even bring their feet with them. So it's not going to be successful. And the guy with the Eagles Hurts, has very strong legs and powerful man. And that's the key is, that he's moving his legs too. But they all, they practice it, like Kevin said, and, they all keep their feet moving. So.
Lauren, you ready? The Mattis Minute?
I'm ready. All right, guys, so I have a series of 10 questions here for you guys. We kind of want the first thing that comes to your mind as an answer, but if you have a story that that goes along with that answer, of course, we want to hear it.
One at a time?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Which is the better university for students to attend, Villanova or Syracuse?
Villanova.
Do you agree that women's beach volleyball is a fantastic sport?
Spectator sport. Sorry. Go ahead.
You stole his answer.
You got this one. Go ahead.
All right, third question. During your days as a football player, have you ever been knocked out cold by a big hit?
Not knocked out cold, but I got a really bad concussion where when they break that ammonia cap underneath your nose and you don't move, and you know that you're stoned.
I do have to share this one. It was, we were playing the Bears at Soldier Field. It was Buddy's first game back out there. So I'm playing against Mike Singletary, and I'm blocking him, and he's, you're holding. And I'm like, whatever. And then the next play, we run a pass play, and I was not covered. So I went through my progression. I looked this way, the guy looped, so I had to follow him, watch the other guy come back. Well, they did a double loop. And when they do that, they're just setting it up for the middle linebacker to come straight up the middle. And he didn't even want to hit the quarterback. He was just so mad at me. And he hit me right under the chin, and he knocked me out. And so I got up and went back to the huddle. The only problem was I was in the Bears huddle. And they actually had one of my tackles, Delaware County guy, Joe Conwell, actually had to come get me out of the Bears huddle. And I don't know how I stayed in the game, because I had to know somehow, because I had to know what the snap count was the next play. But I don't know how it all happened, but it was pretty crazy.
Everything was on one.
And it was on national TV, so they actually showed it, when that happened.
Who is the better commercial actor, Travis Kelce or Patrick Mahomes?
Travis Kelce,
Okay.
a natural.
I'm tired of both of them.
You're not gonna like my eighth question. Did you ever give anybody the business at the bottom of the pile? For example, cup check, eye poking, and or biting?
You missed one.
All right.
When you have your arms on a fumble, there are people that will grab you between your legs. Let's go.
That's the wrong balls.
Yeah, that was the cup check.
One of his buddies from back in the day, and I played with him too for a year or two. Frank Lemaster was the master of the eye gouge, and I was a rookie in Canton blocking him, and he didn't like it. So he would take his fingers and stick them through my mask and try to poke my eyes out. So I told him if he did it again, he might come back with minus a finger or two.
If you had to pick one, would you choose McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, or Taco Bell?
I take Burger King.
I don't know. I guess I have to go with, I'll go traditional. McDonald's was the first one I think I ever went to, so I'd go with that.
If you had to binge watch one of these shows, would you pick The Sopranos, Seinfeld, or Friends?
Sopranos.
Okay.
Sopranos.
Okay. How incredibly excited are each of you that every day we get to hear more about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, and would you consider yourself to be a total Swiftie?
The rumor going around today is that if they win the Super Bowl with Chiefs, that he's going to ask her to marry him, which puts about 3 million young ladies watching TV that wouldn't be there. I think it's all for the commercials.
she's a great talent, and we'll leave it at that.
Do you know she was a waitress at Stone Harbor from 15 to 19?
Did you ever watch roller derby while growing up?
Who didn't? Oh my God, Judy Arnold? Are you kidding me? I think they actually have it again.
All right, and the last question. If the Eagles didn't exist, who would be your favorite NFL team?
I wouldn't say it. It's gonna be cut.
I guess I'd have to go with the Packers.
Because of my relationship with John Harbaugh, I would say the Ravens.
And that's the last minute. Thank you, guys.
There we go. Yeah, you talk about the Ravens. Who's the special team coach down there? Randy Brown still?
I'm not sure.
Local South
Is he?
Jersey guy?
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. It's, you're bringing back, both you guys, Delaware County, so much talented, players have come through, and I talk about this all the time, staying in the area, right? Staying home, you have the opportunity. You talked about going out to Kansas City and what a great talent was, and, but we're spoiled, we're spoiled. The day and age of the players today, whether they announce their retirement or they don't, they're gone. They don't stick around for anything. They grab their paycheck and their history.
Right.
We're very fortunate. So, I just take a minute, because I know you guys have all played with some great teammates, to maybe try to highlight one particular player that stands out to you, that you would really recognize.
You want to go?
Yeah, well, in 1973, I go to camp with the Miami Dolphins after they came off the undefeated season, the last one ever, I think. No one's done it since. And there were two guys on that team that I really, really respected. One was Paul Warfield. It was his second team. He played with the Cleveland Browns for a while, and they got rid of him or traded him because they thought he was beyond. He was a guy that really took care of his body, watched what he ate, really worked hard in practice every day, and on top of it, was really a nice guy. And the other guy I really, really liked because he was such a character, who was on that same team, was Larry Zonka. That guy was one of the toughest human beings I've ever seen. Back in the day, they had this thing called polyturf. It was kind of a plastic turf, and it didn't last long because everybody was getting torn up on it. And these were the days where, if you put on an elbow pad, it would slide up to your shoulder when you slid on these things, and you'd get these raspberries on your elbows and your knees. The polyturf at the Orange Bowl had a fungus growing in it. And so you could get, what they would do is after every game that we played there, the trainers would go around after you showered and say, put up your elbows, because you would get impetigo, and it was, that was something that could be caught on the team. And, they would go around with this Mercure comb stuff, and I can remember putting my elbows up and, oh my God, when's that going to go away? The pain from that initially. Well, Zonka would never came to camp in shape. So Shula would have him play all four quarters to get into shape. And he would be so exhausted. When I saw he had these two raspberries on both elbows that were like the size of a softball, and I went, oh my God, he's going to go through the ceiling. So the guy comes around and he goes, okay, Zonk, elbows up. And he goes, okay. And they sprayed him, and his result was, oh my God. It's like something I've never seen.
Well, when I was with the Eagles, there was a lot of great players, but two of the greatest Eagles, were there at that time. One was Reggie White, and the man was a beast. He was a great person, friendly guy, funny guy. He was 6'5", 315, could run a 4.6, go in the weight room and warm up with 405, and he just was, one day in practice, we're doing one-on-one pass protection, which is the hardest drill for an offensive lineman. So Reggie is on me, and snap the ball. I take my set, perfect set. Got my hand, jammed them, got my hands in there perfect. I'm sitting there, actually, hey, I think I got this, I'm like, and all of a sudden I just see his eyes, just go like this. He snorts, like a bull, and he starts picking me up off the ground and taking me back to the quarterback. And I was like, it's like, there's just some people that are a little better in this league. It was that incredible. I mean, there's not that many people in the league like that, but he was one of them. And the other remarkable talent at the time, he was in development, was Randall Cunningham. The man, he was sinewy. I mean, I don't think anybody, when I was there, I don't think anybody ever got a direct hit on him. I mean, it was like Gumby, and he was fast, and people don't realize the cannon the man had. I remember one play, we were playing the Cardinals out in St. Louis, and it was he was rolling out to his left. He was supposed to hit the tight end and drag it across the middle. And I'm blocking, blocking. And I see the tight end come in, and I'm like, okay, where's the ball? Where's the ball? And then all of a sudden, I see this missile. I turn around, and I see him across his body, launch a missile 70 yards in the air, to Kenny Jackson for a touchdown. And I was just like, wow. It was a wow moment. And so, other guys.
How about his 90-yard punt?
Oh my gosh. Well, he was, they were special players. Yeah. All I did was snap the ball.
Any questions from you guys? You've been a great audience. I
You got one in the back there,
noticed
Lauren.
very attentive and quiet listening to these two former football players tell these stories.
We've got a question back here.
Jerry, living in Delaware County and going on a great school, how did that prepare you to play with Syracuse and then the Eagles? And for both of you, what was it like playing for the Philadelphia Eagles, being around town team?
Well, I think we both can answer it as far as being local. I mean, Kevin maybe 5 more miles, further south than I was, but growing up in this area, it was great to be able to play. I was nothing special, believe me, and I had the opportunity. I'll tell you real quick. When I went to Ohio, they had like 4,500 kids in the whole school. Our freshman class, I think we had like 120 kids try out for the football team. I sat there as the coaches were like, okay, the quarterback's over here, the running back's over here, the defensive lineman over here, the whatever over here. And he said, all right, the center's over here. And only 2 guys went in that line. I never played center in my life, but I was, my brother said I'm not, I don't always use my intelligence, but when I do, I make, good use of it. And so that's why I went. And I went to that line and was a center, ever since then. So, and Ohio was great football, prepared me. I, worked You know, Kevin will tell you the same thing. We worked our asses off. Nothing was magical. Nothing came because, you know, we had parents or anything else. We busted our asses day in and day out, and we had a passion to get there. I actually did, you know, dream when I was a kid of playing. You know, I would dream of a helmet with Eagles wings on it, you know, because that's the first game I ever went to was at Franklin Field with the Philadelphia Eagles. And my dad, you know, he was at the 1960 championship game. That's when I was born. I still have that program in my dresser. And he never got to see me play. He died when I was in training camp, my rookie year. So it was, I think some of his magic might have been there to help me get through, but nobody gave me anything. I worked my ass for everything, and you know, I really think, you know, that's why I'm proud of my career, because you know, I never, you know, nobody ever gave me anything special.
Back in the day when I was playing, I would say, I don't believe this, Jared, but I think only 10% of the guys that I played ball with lifted weights consistently. And I was in the weight room from the time I was 15. And that was really helped by a bunch of guys that I hung out with that were wrestlers that lifted. I learned how to lift right and all that kind of stuff. I even entered some weightlifting contests just to challenge myself to maybe get a second or a third, you know, place in some of the deadlifting, bench pressing and squatting. And so at 225 pounds, I was not the biggest linebacker out there, but I was able to keep tight ends away from me because I had at one time a 375 pound bench press. And it was really funny because we were tested down in Miami, and when the weights got over 300, there was only 3 guys that could bench press 300. It was myself, Mercury Morris, and a guy named Doug Swift.
Okay.
And
that's Taylor's brother, right?
Yeah.
Taylor.
yeah, right. That'd be his daughter or something.
The original Swiftie?
Yeah.
But, you know, getting back to the original question that Carl asked, gosh, playing in your hometown, I went to the Eagles games and I used to dream in Franklin Field about being in an Eagles uniform. And the guy who was my, you know, just unbelievable guy that I used to watch on special teams was a guy by the name of Ike Kelly.
Oh, God.
Ike Kelly, they could send 3 guys to block him and he'd somehow be in on the dime.
Great guy.
And so when I got with the Eagles after I was with Miami, I said, I want number 51. He said, it's already taken. I'll shoot. So I took 52. Well, it was about maybe 15 years ago. I'm in a speaking engagement out in Ohio. I'm talking to people after I gave my speech. I do a lot of motivational talks all over the country. And all of a sudden, this guy walks up, bow-legged. I said, how you doing? What's your name? He said, Ike Kelly. I jumped in his lap. He was holding me. I said, he was so stunned.
Oh, my God.
He was my hero. And here he is. He said, I heard you were speaking out
Where's
here.
Worthington Steel?
Yeah. So, you know, it was great playing back here. We come back here. We were local heroes, regardless of if we were first team or special teams or whatever, just because we were living the dream. And, you know, one of the things that I start off with in some of my motivational talks is I feel bad for these kids today that have 300 channels on TV and the internet, and they don't go outside and play ball and pretend. And I used to pretend that I was an Eagle or a Philadelphia Philly or 76. And, you know, that's another way of dreaming. You don't know what that does on your subconscious. So that was a little dream I never told anybody about, but it came true, and sometimes they do.
Oh, yeah. Yep. For sure.
Johnny, what do you got to finish up?
I think I'm actually pretty good. Actually, you know what? No, I do want to know about your choice, making the choice with the Eagles, because the Raiders owner was friendly with you, and he was hoping to get you.
Yeah,
Al
you're
Davis,
right.
Al Davis having that Syracuse connection about that. That's
Well,
pretty
it
cool.
was, I didn't get drafted, but half the teams in the league contacted me to sign me. And so initially, that's great. But then I had to go through the leagues and say, through the teams and see, all right, who really needs a center?
Right.
I'm not, Pittsburgh wanted me too, but they also had Mike Webster. I wasn't going there. Or Miami had, I think, Dwight Stevenson at the time, so I wasn't going there. But so I looked at the opportunities. I knew Guy was getting older, and the Raiders had Dalby, and I think he was done at that point. So they needed somebody. So at the end, you're right. It came down to the Eagles and the Raiders. My dad was very sick, and so it kind of made it. The decision was kind of just got made that way. I would still be able to go to the hospital and see him until I had to go to training camp, and of course that's when he died during training camp. So, and it's funny when I finally went and signed with the Eagles. They had somebody pick me up at the airport, and then they had somebody pick my dad up. And come down, for the stadium tour.
Yeah.
So it was really great as far as the Eagles doing that. And he was an Eagles fan.
Yeah.
And it was great. I mean, it was just great all around.
Absolutely.
Guys, gals, great stories.
Absolutely.
Sharing them with us. You've got a question?
How come they didn't pick up Mom?
I knew he was the right.
She never liked the Eagles.
She was a Raiders fan.
She was a Raiders fan.
You guys have interaction with Jeffrey Lurie and all, and how was Norman Braden? Did you see the owner when you guys were there?
I got to know Jeffrey through broadcasting with the Eagles for 16 years. I was doing the pre and post game with IFT and WYS. So I got to see him, quite a lot. I thought he was a pretty decent guy. Of course, the guy that owned the team when I was there was Leonard Toast. And Leonard was a piece of work. I want to tell you that. But there wasn't, he was a Jewish guy that went to Notre Dame, and he got all of the Catholic, virtues. He was really a guy that was open-hearted. I remember saying, I'm going to ask for this on my next contract, and it was high, and I asked for it. He goes, okay, that's all right. And then when I went to sign that contract, I went in and I took my two parents, and I'm trying to think of the name of the restaurant downtown. Bookbinders. And I was going to take my mom. I knew it was going to be the last contract I signed, so I was going to take them to lunch. And when I was leaving, he said something to me, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to take my mom and dad out in the lobby here. I'm going to take them to lunch and celebrate." Oh, he said, "That's nice." He said, "I'd like to meet him." So he came out and we met him. And when I get the Bookbinders, I said, "I got a reservation for 3 for Riley." He says, "Follow me." And we're going upstairs to the special place they have up there. I said, whoa. He said, "No, Mr. Toast is called and lunch is on him today."
Wow.
And that was the kind of guy he was. I mean, he died broke, but he can't take that stuff with him.
Yeah, Leonard was there when I signed. I have nothing but good things to say about him. He took care of his players. He was a good guy. Crappy gambler, but really good guy. Then I had the opposite with Norman, who was, kind of standoffish from the players. I'm sure he was a pretty decent guy, but he didn't really have those connections with him that much. But I've met Lurie afterwards when I used to be the president of the NFL Players Association for Philadelphia, and we would do fundraisers and do things when the Eagles would build parks or stuff like that. We would take some of the money that we raised and give it to them, for their projects every year. So I got to know them that way.
I got a real funny, real quick story on Leonard. Leonard was going to this one of the Super Bowls. Jimmy Murray was the GM then, and he said, "Jimmy, I do not want to be held up in that LA traffic." He said, "You get me cops that can escort us." So Jimmy said, "I have a buddy out there." I called him. He said, "Jimmy, you're a year late. They already lined the cops up. They would bring in the guys that were retired for this very purpose. I can't help you." So Jimmy says, "Leonard's not the type of guy you get back and tell him you can't do this." So he said, "I kept thinking and he said, I had a friend from Villanova." That's where Jimmy went to school. He said, "I had a friend from Villanova that was in Hollywood, and he was in charge of the Chips show." Remember the motorcycle?
Yeah.
So he called them up. He said, "Leonard's willing to pay you X. Can we use, the uniforms?" And that's what they did, and nobody called him for a whole week.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's crazy.
Hey, real quick, before we wrap this up, there's a special person in the house tonight. He's got an event that he's running here in a couple of weeks, and a lot of people know him. Brian Friel does a lot of great work in the community. He's got an event coming up, and I'd like him to share a few words with everyone.
Can you hear me now?
Gotcha.
Hi, everybody. Going to be having a celebration called Tim Patrick's Day. Tim Patrick is my son who passed away 5 years ago due to drugs and whatnot. And maybe 2-3 weeks before he passed away, he was talking to me, and he mentioned this place in Kensington, St. Francis Inn Ministries, who takes care of drug addicts, homeless, people that just need a place to go to. And 2 weeks later, he was gone. So when he passed away, we decided it's going to be what we're going to try to help. So at his funeral, we raised some money, and then we decided to start having a benefit here at Hanrahan's. And this is 5 years ago. Since then, the good people of Drexel Hill, Delco, Philadelphia, New Jersey have raised over $70,000.
Wow.
Carl has been very, very there for me the whole time. I can't thank you enough. And we're going, this St. Tim Patrick's Day will be here Saturday, March 2nd from 1 to 5. It'll be Irish music. If you don't like it, it's country music. Tickets are $40, includes beer and food and music, and we'll have a lot of raffles and stuff. If you can come out or just want to donate, I'll be sitting over there for a minute. You can, I'll give you a place to go to or whatnot. And thank you, everybody. This is tough. Thank you.
All right, yeah, Jimmy Clark, who owns Hanrahan's, extends a lot of what he does here to the community, Drexel Hill, Delco, all around. And this is just a small portion of what goes on here in Delco. So we can rally behind it, support. That's what it's all about. So again, I want to thank Jerry Fury. I want to thank Kevin Riley. Two great former Eagle players, so Eagles for life, right?
Eagles for life.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Doesn't
Fly,
get any better, right?
fly, Eagles, fly. The guy that taught me that song was my first game at Franklin Field. He was like 80 years old with his flask. And after he was done, he asked me if I wanted a drink. I think I was 6.
Got to start them young.
Kevin, closing comments?
I just hope the Eagles get the right coordinators in this time and straighten up and fly right, because there's a lot of talent on that team. They just got to bring it together.
There you go. There you go. Hey, we're back here March 6th, so we'll be announcing a guest or two. Seems to be the theme these days. But again, I want to thank both these gentlemen for giving up their Wednesday night and coming out and letting us pick their brain about what's going on in Philly and all the good stories. So again, we appreciate it.
Yep,
Thank
thank
you.
Thanks for having us.
How about a big hand, Hanrahan?